Hey everybody. If you were here about 6 years ago, you may remember something we did called 40 Days of Purpose. For 6 weeks, everybody did the same thing. Obviously everybody got the same sermons, but it was the same sermon series. We had a small group curriculum where everybody studied the same thing in a small group, and there was a book that everybody read a little part each day together. It was a spiritual growth campaign. We got it from another church. We brought it in and used it here. But the whole idea was everybody doing the same thing together really brings the church together, helps people grow, and God starts to do a new thing in the church. Well, starting the third week of February of 2010, we're going to have our own spiritual growth campaign. We're not going to bring in a curriculum from somewhere else. It's going to be our own. It's something that Doug and I have been writing for months. It's not going to sound like it takes months when I tell you what it is because it's extremely simple, but I'll just tell you. Making the complex world fairly simple. Taking everything we're supposed to be at a church and whittling it down to something that you can say in one sentence, it's not that easy. So we've come up with our own assimilation model, our curriculum for Lynn Haven Methodist Church, our vision, so to speak, of what it is we do as a church. And we've narrowed it down instead of to a long spiritual trail map that takes a whole page to write down, to 3 things. We connect, we grow, we serve. That's pretty much it. We connect, we grow, we serve. Now, those 3 things will be 6 weeks because each one has 2 parts. Under connection, we don't just connect with other people, we connect with God. So, under connection is connecting with God, worship, and connecting with other people, our neighbors, Christian and non-Christian. That's fellowship or community, right? Under growth, there's 2 parts. We need to know the gospel, how we're set right with God through the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ, and how through faith we're filled with God's Spirit to live a new life. That's the gospel. We've got to know that. But the main mechanism through which we know it is God's written revelation, the Bible. We can't really know the gospel if we're ignorant of the Bible. So under growth, the 2 ways we focus on growth is knowing the gospel and knowing the Bible. And then lastly is service. We need to recognize the 2 parts of service. One is the work service does in us. We can't just come to worship, hang out with other people, learn about the gospel and the Bible, and do nothing and expect to grow really and deeply, to have a real heart change. Service is required for us to really be transformed. But it's also the way in which we reach our community and world, which is God's mission for us, the task He's given us, and the work that we'll find most fulfilling. So, each of these 3 things has those 2 parts, 6 weeks. So we're going to have 6 sermons. We'll have a DVD curriculum of 6 small group lessons that Doug will do with discussion questions that we'll give you. And we'll have a 30-part devotional for you to go through during this spiritual growth campaign. Each person will be able to get an individual copy of that. So we're going to do our own spiritual growth campaign to focus our own church around what God has called us to do. And here's what I need. I need you to help by being totally on board with this. Tell your small group about it now. At your next small group meeting, tell them that the second half of February through all of March, we're going to have a spiritual growth campaign. Tell them what I've told you just now. Get them excited. Show them that you're on the inside track. You know what's coming. And that we're not just going to drop this and make it up in a week. We'll have been planning it for months. And I need you to be enthusiastically involved. Don't just begrudgingly do it in your small group. Decide now that you're really going to do it wholeheartedly. That you're going to expect God to do something through this campaign in our church. Something individually in you, and something together with all of us as a church as we live out the gospel, not just as an I, but as a we. And I think if you do that, I think this spring something is going to happen here among us that God's going to do through His Spirit and through His Word. It will be a great long time coming and will change who we are as a church for a lot of years to come. And you, as a Christian, for a lot of